Do you think that it takes a kind of churches having community groups, Bible studies, weekday fellowships where they hash out these ideas as community centers again? Is that what's going to happen? Are churches going to have to get off their high horse and allow, not necessarily as a part of their worship service, but at least as a function of their daily activities, allowing young men and women or people of all ages to come together and hash these things out and say, what do we do? How do we get healthy? How do we get take care of mental health? How do we keep each other accountable? How do we protect our families from forces that want to rip everything apart and deconstruct gender and deconstruct innocence and deconstruct togetherness and keeping your word, you know? Is that what it's going to take? Is the church is leading this movement, or is it going to happen outside of the church?
Yeah, no, I don't. That's a good question, right? I think that's the question, right, of how to scale that. But I think it's the best thing that's comforting is that there is what's right out there. There's the truth of how we should interact with each other. It's not complicated. It's not complex, and you know it, whether you're from a rural area or from a city area, right? Or in the sway of a sort of mind virus, right? But we all know that it's best to treat each other well. It's best to love each other and hope the best for each other, right? Even though we fall short of it all the time, myself included, probably more than most, right? But we know what it is, right? So the scaffolding will have to fall, like, and it's going to be difficult for a while. And whether or not it's the churches we know it right now in particular regions that are going to be playing a central role, I think what the church is going to morph and change in a very necessary way, and it's unpredictable what that will look like. And that might be, blasphemy, but I think that's something that's happening now. We're living in different times, but the church is everywhere present and fills all things, so it will adapt.
You said that might be blasphemy. Why would you say that?
Well, because it's like the question is, it's not looking back to see what the church has been, right? The church is the tradition. The church is a living entity that engages with the reality that it confronts, right? Whether it can look like the catacombs that it did in the early church, where you had very small groups of people praying and holding liturgy in their homes, or what it might look like in terms of a digital world that we're living in, or a combination of digital physical world. It's going to look in ways that we can't really comprehend right now. Right? So I have faith in the church, but I don't have a prediction of what that will look like.
Yeah, I see. Do you see the something I've been talking about a lot on this program, that faith is better understood as trust, and which would be the opposite of that would be fear or trying to control the outcomes of life. Do you see that as a helpful way of looking at faith, or do you take a different definition or description about faith?
I think it's one of those polyvalent terms, but I think that's a good way to look at it, right? As a faith and a trust and things to come. It's as simple as that. I think there's a lot of ways to look at it, but I think at the root, it's something like that. It's your orientation towards the world and its outcome, and ultimately that will drive it in a certain direction. So faith is necessary. That's why we're in a tough spot of pervasive nihilism and all these forms. It's a problem, and it's a ubiquitous problem. Faith is an important structure of reality to motive perception. It's not some dogmatic thing that one religion practically, or by happenstance holds over another. It's a way that we perceive the world that is atrophied. So that is one of the main things to re-engage with in order to move forward, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I see the popular conception of faith, both in those who call themselves Christian and those who are calling themselves skeptics or secularists or atheists, is faith is akin to, like, if you were to tell me I've got Italian in me, I'm part Italian, and that's a fact about you, and you say, you have to believe that about me, and that's having faith in me, right? Because I'm Italian, and you believe that fact, and if you believe all these attributes that I describe, Italian, I'm this, I'm that, I'm an electrician. If I believe all those facts about you, that's faith. It's a belief, as opposed to faith as the biblical understanding would be more like, hey, you cook me a meal and you say this won't kill you, and I say, of course, I trust you, and I eat it. It's a trust, right? It's a relational trust that actually is what faith is about, not beliefs, mental propositions that you mentally accept,
No, I think that's beautifully said. Faith is trust in your neighbor. God bless.
James, I appreciate your time, and check out The Rooster's Crow, where you can find his interviews and book reviews and analysis on YouTube. The Rooster's Crow with James Cortides, our guest. We'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.